Hello, my friends, and welcome to another episode of Time Between Times Storytelling with me, Owen Staton. I like the bright in things, but I also like the dark. There are many places, especially in Wales, that are bright, beautiful, bounteous places, and yet have a darkness. And we are going to visit one of those places today in this special episode of Time Between Times. Even as the sun grows brighter outside and the wheel of the year turns, the fact that we can visit the dark, the places where spirits walk, and the Tylwyth Teg skulk from shadow to shadow, makes Wales a beautiful place. So sit back, relax, close your eyes if it's safe to do so, and join me at the fire pit at the heart of the forest for another tale traditionally told. You look outside. The nights are definitely getting lighter, but the shadows lengthen, and clouds still mar the stars in the sky. You put on your jacket and walk outside. As you close your front door, you look inside and think that you could sit there all night. But that's not what you want. You crave adventure. You summon story. You want another tale. So you walk down to the road, take that right turn, and head towards the forest. There it is in front of you like a big gated wall. To find that little entrance is a magic in itself, but there it is. You take a deep breath and step into the forest. As you cross that threshold into the trees, you feel a shudder through your whole body as if you are passing into another realm. There is the old mossy tower. You feel like you could scale its outside and climb into its upward floor, but not today. You pass over the babbling brook in one skip, turning back and looking at it. You wonder how long that water has weaved its way through the mountain. And then you hear a noise, and you turn around, and there you can see it, the fire pit at the heart of the forest. Your friends have gathered, the fire is spluttering. They are sat around it, giggling and laughing, for they know this is the place to come, where they will hear a tale traditionally told. You step inside and they greet you like they have not seen you for months, even though it has been just a scant few days, and you feel a wave of happiness pass over you. You look up, and there in the sky you see that the sun and the moon are sharing the same place. For now is the time between times, the time when it's neither night nor day, but the sun has gone and the sky is grey, the time when the veil between our world and the fairy world grows wafer thin. So thin that for a moment, and just a few moments, you can reach into their realm, and for a few moments they can step into ours. You see, now is the time that people see ghosts. Now is the time that people see lights in the sky. Now is the time of the Tylwyth Teg. Now is the time between times. So sit back, relax, close your eyes if it's safe to do so, and let a tide of tales wash over you as we head to Pentrefoelas in the north of Wales. A place so beautiful that the flowers grow on even the darkest days. There is a church, there is an old house, and there is a place, a garden square, where people gather in happiness and joy at all times of the year. It is a simple, small, smouldering, sun-blessed village. But there is a dark side, the Pentrefoelas. A dark side that has gone back for hundreds of years. A dark side that has been visited by many people. The time between times is celebrated there, for the veil between our world and the fairy world is particularly thin in Pentrefoelas. There have been reports of going hundreds of years of a dark, phantom black pig which chases people through the streets, making noises that sound like they echo in the other world. Its fiery red eyes can be seen from miles away, and its stench pervades the air on even the cleanest of nights. People have seen it in summer, in winter, in spring, but especially at this time of year, as winter is starting to fade away and brighter days are coming. In the local inn, people have visited and looked outside and seen its red eyes pass beyond. But that isn't the tale we are going to tell this day. You see, on the outskirts of the village there is a large house, a huge house that once belonged to Squire Griffiths, famed throughout the land for his bravery. But just over 200 years ago, his bravery meant the end of his life, as he took part in a mad dash of a cavalry charge at the Battle of Waterloo, where the British cavalry swamped down the hill towards the French to end the terror of Napoleon. Squire Griffiths rode on the back of his horse, a horse called Shadow, and he was shot in the head. He fell to the ground and lay there, breathing his last, looking at the sky, as a victory was won, but for him everything was lost. But back in his home of Pentrefoelas, although he was regarded as a hero, although his courage was celebrated, he was also feared by all the young people and children in the area. You see, surrounding his house, with its whitewashed walls, was a great apple orchard, blessed with bounteous apples that seemed to grow at all times of the year. Many were the tales of children jumping over his wall, picking his apples, placing them in bags, only to be shouted at from the doors. Some of them were even shot at, or so it was said, or dogs would be set out to chase them from the land. But when the message came that he had died on a foreign field far away, people left his land, his house, his apples, his place, his dogs well alone. But as the weeks passed, the months passed, even the years passed, the orchard started to become overgrown. The apples fell to the ground with a thump that could be heard throughout the village. It was said that if you passed the old stone wall around the orchard, you could count at least 10 apples falling to the ground, rotten and ruined. One night at the inn, in the centre of the village, where the hearth was bright and the song was full, a number of the villagers decided to gather together, and the subject on their lips were Squire Griffiths' apples. A hard winter was coming, and they felt that it was going to waste, for seldom were the visitors to the old house, seldom was a candle seen in the window, seldom would a cart pull up on its old gravel drive. So 5 of the villagers set forth as the night was full, and the moon filled the sky. With a sack each, they pledged to take as many apples as they could and return to the inn and feed all the people of Pentrefoelas. They went out of the door and down the path. An owl hooted, and far away a dog barked. And they made their winding way towards the house, and there it was, silhouetted by the moon, like an old jagged fork sticking out of a hillside. And there they saw the apple trees, beyond count, like great hands emerging from the earth, like claws that had been lost in some savoury quicksand far away. The villagers one by one jumped over the wall and started to scatter in the orchard. One by one they filled their bags from the apples on the floor, filling them to brim. The night grew longer, the place grew darker, the wind started to howl far away. But then they met by the gateyard, full of happiness, full of joy, to return with their treasure found. When suddenly, and without warning, a sound echoed from the great house itself. Thud, thud, thud. First of all, it sounded like a door being opened and closed constantly. But then they realized that was not what it was. It was footsteps, but not the footsteps of a man or a woman, a dog or a horse, but the footsteps of something not of this world. Suddenly a stench filled the air, a cadaverous stench of something rotten that had lain on the ground for a long time. And then as one, the villagers turned and looked up the path towards the house. And it was then that they saw him. Squire Griffiths, a tricorn hat on his head, his beard long and even wearing his soldier's red coat, with a gun under his arm, and a stoop in his back, and a shuffle in his gait. He made his slithering, slippery way down the path. And then he called out, Their hearts missed the next 10 beats in their heart, as one by one each of them dropped their sacks to the ground, causing the apples to roll down the hill. For a moment they stared in utter terror as this apparition shambled its way down the path towards them. And then, suddenly, it was like something snapped out of them, and they turned around and fled over the wall, running as fast as their legs could carry them back to the inn, where the door was shut and barricaded. But even there, far away, the sound of the cadaverous breath of the apparition echoed through the valleys. The following morning, when the sun rose at the time between times, all 5 of the villagers' hair had turned a bright white. All of them had aged 10 years, and not one person in Pentrefoelas had eaten a fresh apple. Over 200 years have passed since that fateful night. The apple trees are now long overgrown and the grass is weight high. The house is falling apart. But still those nearby are scared to set foot, for the phantom squire is often seen and even more often heard, shambling his way around the paths, guarding his orchard with a jealous eye. And no one, and I mean no one, has had the courage to eat an apple from those trees in Pentrefoelas ever since. For the spirit of Squire Griffiths still walks the haunted paths of Pentrefoelas. And that, my friends, is the simple, scary tale of the Squire of Pentrefoelas, a truly beautiful place that is worth a visit, but also a haunted place, with an eerie tale, and 2 sinister spectres that are often seen walking those lands. Thank you for joining me at the fire pit at the heart of the forest, at the time between times, for another tale traditionally told. I have just released a new audio on my Ko-fi and my Patreon, telling the tale about how I got into storytelling. You can find it at kofi.com/Owen Staton or patreon.com/Owen Staton 7. It's almost half an hour long, and it tells about how I found myself lost in tales. If you wish to support me, you can go to those places and sponsor me, or if you can't do that or will not do that, how about leaving me a good, nice review wherever you get your podcasts. The last episode received a record amount of downloads, and I am still flabbergasted at the amount of people who choose to join us here at the fire pit for tales traditionally told. Thank you so much, my friends. To know that you are listening and enjoying these tales as much as I am enjoying telling them means the absolute world to me. Diolch yn fawr am gwrando. Thank you ever so much for listening. Take care. Have a great week. And join me again at the time between times. The time it's neither night nor day, but the sun has gone and the sky is grey.